Are you ready to break free from the doubts and limits holding you back? Welcome to Embrace Your Value, where therapy meets coaching to help you unlock your true worth and take control of your life.
Hi, I'm Kristen, a trauma therapist dedicated to helping you heal, break old patterns, and reclaim your power.
And I'm Jen, your support coach, here to show you how to set fierce boundaries, embrace self-compassion, and step boldly into the life you deserve.
So whether you're stuck in self-doubt or feeling lost, know this: your value isn't up for negotiation. It's time to own it.
Every week, we tackle real issues that challenge, inspire, and empower you to live with purpose and confidence.
So grab your favorite drink, take a deep breath, and let's get started.
Because you're not here to play small. It's time to embrace your value. Welcome back to Embrace Your Value. So today we're going off script. We're going out of the fun. We're just going to do something totally different. We are going to take a couple episodes and do something fun and unique that we haven't done in a while. We did it at the very beginning. We're going to do it again. So today I'm going to interview the amazing, ever-talented Kristen Burrus. She is our resident trauma therapist, and she helps men and women who are struggling with all sorts of things, but mostly around setting healthy boundaries, overcoming some sort of addiction, really just helping them get their lives back on track. Without further ado, meet our amazing co-host, Kristen Burrus.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for the wonderful intro, Jen. You're so kind. I'm really excited to do this one more time. I think we've come through a pretty big evolution, both of us, just in the short time we've been doing this together and separately. And so I think it's a good time to retouch base about who we are and what we're about. And so I'm looking forward.
I would agree completely. So let's jump into this. So, Kristen, I know you talk a lot about boundaries. We both talk a lot about boundaries. It's a big thing, and we talk about it a lot on this show. But boundaries feel like such a foundational piece of mental health. And if that's the case, why do so many people struggle to set them?
We've probably addressed this in multiple ways, but I would say that boundaries are the hardest to set for two basic reasons. One is maybe we don't know what our values are, so we don't know what to set boundaries around. Okay, so if we think of boundaries as an actual like fence holding in something that we value, and maybe your value is family, right? So we set a boundary around family. So one, we don't know what we're setting the boundaries around, which is our values. Two, the other thing is don't know how to set a boundary. So that's a conversation this is literally the conversation I have with a lot of people. It's like, okay, well, that sounds great. I want to do that. I don't know how. And so then that's the other reason, is because if you weren't taught boundaries, if you didn't grow up in a home with boundaries, if somebody didn't along the way say, you need to take care of yourself and you need to do things for you so that you can be there for other people or whatever it is, then you didn't learn how to do it. So those are the two big reasons, I think.
What's the most common misconception you see in people when they come to you about what boundaries really are?
Oh, that's such a good one, because this is one that I kind of didn't have a full handle on until, I won't say recently, but like once I'd really gotten into like talking a lot more about boundaries and digging into it personally and with clients and obviously with you, and this is part of the evolution I'm talking about, is that boundaries aren't to control other people's actions. They are simply a way of letting people know how we will respond to theirs.
100%. And I tell clients all the time, if you don't like the way people are treating you, set that boundary because you've taught them how to treat you. So that's always a good way to look at that. Yeah, I love that. How do you help someone who was never taught what healthy boundaries look like? Maybe because they didn't see them growing up, but like, how do you really help them to understand and start setting those boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to the first conversation has to be, what is it that we want to protect, right? So people come in for a lot of reasons, but a lot of them is because their life is disrupted. They don't know how to manage it, right? So maybe that's because of trauma. Maybe it's because of substances. Maybe it's because of something, doesn't matter. Something's happening. I need help getting this under control. So we have to say, what's informing your decision-making day to day, right? So once we understand what your values are, we understand how we make decisions, and then we can start utilizing that information to set healthy boundaries.
Perfect. I love that. So let's talk about interpersonal relationships. A lot of people come to you struggling in their relationships. What's the first thing you help them look at?
100% what's your part in this? Like, you have to know how you're contributing to the problem. So when people come in and they're like, oh, my husband this, or my wife that, blah, 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 and they just want to unload about all these horrible things that are happening in their home and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, great. And what's your part? Well, I don't do anything. Oh, I had this guy today. It was great. He likes to drink, and his wife sends him in because he drinks too much. And she's like, you need to go see Kristen. Kristen will fix you, because I've seen her as well. And so I'm like, why'd your wife send you in? He goes, she thinks I drink too much. And I'm like, do you? And he's like, I don't think so. And I'm like, okay, well, then what's your part and why your wife sent you in? And he thought about it. He'd never really thought about I'm doing this because she told me I need to do it, which zero buy-in, by the way, from the client. If they're coming in just because they've been told to come in, whether it's under duress from a wife or the law or whatever, right? So it's more about what do you have control over and what can you change in the dynamic of this relationship?
Yeah, man, that right there just said it all. That was great. We can end this interview. That is what you need to know about Kristen. She is going to put you in that accountability hot seat and make you look at it. And I think that's what we all need to be doing. I love that so much. So how do you help someone figure out whether a relationship in their life is worth repairing or whether it's time to let it go?
Yeah, what a great question. As a marriage and family therapist, even though I don't do marriage therapy or family therapy, so that's cool. But I do think that most relationships, regardless of whether it's parent-child or husband-wife or sisters or whatever, friends, doesn't matter, coworkers, I think everything can be salvaged if really, no matter what's happened, if both people are willing to put in the effort. So I tell people all the time, I cannot fix your relationship through just you. So I can help you be the best version of yourself. And then I will send you off to some other therapist that wants to do marriage therapy or family therapy, because I don't. And then they can help you figure that out. But if the two parties are not both willing to put effort in, no one person can fix a relationship.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about a healthy relationship that you currently have in your life. What would you say that looks like for you? It doesn't have to be romantic. I'm just curious to see kind of what comes up for you, what you're thinking. What does a healthy relationship look like in your life right now?
For me, well, first of all, I have really good boundaries. So I have all different types of people in my life, but I'm good at keeping the boundaries. So some people like to try to take a little bit more, and so I have to set boundaries with them. But overall, in my opinion, a good, healthy relationship is one that has balance, right? It's not one-sided, two-sided, 10-sided. It's okay, we have balance, right? There's whatever that looks like. And each relationship kind of gets to determine its own balance. So when there's balance in a relationship, then most things can be figured out.
Yeah, I love that. What are one or two practical skills that you teach clients they can use from the moment when emotions feel overwhelming for them?
Yes. I do try to give everyone the takeaway, even hopefully on the first session, if we get through all of the intake stuff, because most people do come in kind of in a state, right? And so I would say number one, top tier answer is breathing. So in for 3, hold for 3, out for 6. That's going to be your best friend. And then the other one would be some kind of structure or routine, because those are two things you can do between our appointment and whenever our next appointment is that you can do for free without anybody telling you to do them, is to breathe in a way that regulates your nervous system and then put some structure in your day so that your mind knows what to expect.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that. A lot of people don't realize how much their mood affects every area of their life. How do you help clients to start seeing that connection?
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask for a quick scenario. Can you just give me a quick situation that's going on? We'll just say between you and your wife or you and your husband or whatever. And then we're back to what's your part? Well, we'll say I was drinking and maybe I said something unkind. Okay. Well, that's something you have control over, right? You can control how much you drink, in theory. You control how much you drink and you can control what comes out of your mouth, right? Okay. So when you're unhappy and you drink and you say unkind things, that's probably affecting the dynamic of your relationship. Can we agree? Yes. Yes, we can agree. Okay. And then that's how we, get buy-in and start going down how you affect the relationships and the environment that you're in.
Let's talk a little bit about you and your work. You believe therapy is important for everyone at some point. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes,
Okay.
it would be.
How do you help people who are on the fence about whether they really need it or not?
Well, I guess really need is very subjective, right? So I would say if you're thinking about therapy, you probably need therapy. If you think, is therapy going to help me? Yeah, it probably will, with the right therapist, right? Like not every therapist is like me and I'm not like every therapist, and that's okay. There needs to be all different kinds of therapists out there. So if you're feeling uncomfortable and it feels overwhelming and you can't move through it, whether it's sadness, anxiety, alcohol, drugs, whatever, you're fighting all the time, like you can't get out of bed. Like if there's something that you just can't get through, then some kind of therapy could be helpful. Not everybody has these, big traumas that have happened in their lives. And while I'm a trauma specialist, like people come in with everyday problems too, right? And the same techniques work. You just have to do it at different levels. So, I mean, I think if you're thinking about it, yeah, probably need it.
I love that. For you, when you have a client come in and they're a new client, how do you help them figure out if you're the right person for them?
Okay, I love this question. And here's why, because I'm not a good fit for everyone. So people have heard me in the episodes and you're getting a really good taste of what it would be like to be in session with me, just listening to this episode itself. So yes, of course, I can be soft and kind and comforting and do all of those things. But I tell my clients this: if this session felt like we are a good match in a personality way, or you need someone who's very direct, then this may be a good fit. If you need someone who's less structured and more about like, let's talk about the feelings and let's do those things, we will absolutely talk about feelings in my room, but most people don't want to. I figure it out though. But if you want somewhere to like just dump your stuff, okay, I'm probably not your therapist, right? because I want to solve problems. I want to get people to feel better. I want to get them to a place where they feel comfortable in their life or more comfortable in their life. And so that's going to be the best fit for me, is the person that wants to work, that's going to do the hard things, and that wants to get better. Otherwise, I will frustrate the shit out of them.
Great. I love that. So your practice is called Enlightened Services. What does that mean to you personally? How did you come up with the name? Tell me the story behind it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been also, the name has been a little bit of an evolution just because I've, changed things since I very first got out of school. But enlightened to me felt like there were so many different sides of it, right? So enlightened is like, okay, now I understand something, and I love giving people information and then go, oh, I never thought about it like that. And that's so enlightening. Like, that's how my mind kind of went through it. But also it's like, sometimes people are like, oh, I feel so much lighter. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we are doing some enlightening, feeling lighter. So I think that I just had a little bit of a multifaceted way of looking at it. And it's just, I think it's a great word. You can use it so many different ways in different contexts.
It's beautiful. What drew you to trauma therapy specifically? Was there a moment or an experience that pointed you in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we all can find our little niche in life, especially with this kind of work, Jen. And I know you have kind of done some of your own little evolutions in this as well. Is I really went to school, and I actually went back and read like my bio thing that I sent to the school to just even get the interview to be at the school. And it was like, I want to work with children and families. And that is the 100% last thing that I want to do now, right? So in my mind, when I went to school, I was thinking, I want to give everybody the things that I didn't have, right? I wanted to give them the kind of family and help the children and do the things that didn't really get done for me. And I think this is why most people become therapists at the end of the day. And we make jokes about it all the time. And so I kind of started out, and at the beginning, you kind of take everybody, right? Like you need to make some money. So I had to kind of take everybody. And then when I had to kind of go get a day job, we'll call it a day job, a salary job, and I worked for a community mental health center, most of the people that came to see me were addicts, and they were like in for either possession or dealing of illegal substances. And so I found this common thread with all of them that included trauma. And I had never put everything through that lens. And so once I started putting all the different things through the trauma lens, I realized how global trauma really is. Sometimes we have the little T's and sometimes we have the big T's, but we all have something that happens to us in our lives. And so that's when I started really targeting like trauma. And then as I did more of it, then kind of got a name for myself, and especially like within the community that I was working in at the community mental health center, it was like, okay, she likes the harder cases. She wants to deal with the people who have had the biggest struggles, because that's where my heart is, right? Is like those top trauma kinds of things, the high level trauma, there's where my heart is, right? I want to be able to take you from a person who feels like they can't manage to someone who can flourish. And so that's why I like probably the higher level traumas more than maybe some other people do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a great evolution and journey you've had with all this. So you help people find their strength and resilience every day. How do you take care of your own mental health?
So I would say I've gotten much better at that in the last 3 years. So I make sure that I take time off regularly. And for me right now, that looks like I don't work on Fridays, right? So Fridays are the days that I do a lot of my appointments for myself, like my personal appointments, or take time to relax. I don't work on the weekends. I have somebody managing my schedule for me so I don't really have to do a lot of businessy work stuff on my days off and do self-care. I'm getting the things done that make me feel good. And I like to garden and I like to go to the lake and I like to be out in the sun and I like to play with my dogs and, so let's take them to the dog park. These are all the things that keep me balanced.
What's something about you that our listeners, might be surprised to learn?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm pretty transparent. So I don't know. Well, like my clients are going to know, but I think our listeners probably, I haven't said this a lot, but it's just being a single mom and having a 17-year-old with his dad has passed away. So it's like I've been taking care of him and just, I guess maybe what I'm trying to say here is that I don't always feel 100% sure about being the best mom that I can be. And so that's one of my things that I probably question. I know I seem very self-assured and very confident, and I am, right, in all things. But the one thing that I really worry about the most, or that I really have the most insecurity around, is just making sure that I'm doing the best for my child.
That's a beautiful way to look at, we're always doing our own work too. So we're not on here every week going, oh, we know everything. We're going to come out and just tell you guys we know everything. Because that is absolutely not the truth. Like half the time, I feel like we talk about things because I need them. I don't know if Kristen feels the same way, but I definitely feel that way. So we're always doing our work too. So that's good for the listeners to hear, I think, once in a while, that we still have things we're uncertain about too.
Yeah. And like I said, my clients know I'm very transparent, telling nitty-gritty details. But like yesterday, I was telling a story about an interaction I had with my son to a client who's just a few years older. And I'm like, maybe your parents are just doing the best that they can, kind of like I did last night. And I didn't handle the situation as I didn't think about it until I was having the conversation with this kid. And I was like, kid, 23. Anyway, I was having this conversation with him and I was like, oh man, I literally did to my son last night what he's telling me his parents do to him all the time. So I immediately went home and I was like, hey, I was in session and I used our situation last night as an example. And I just want to apologize because I think I came down here and straight away without a hi, hello, how was your day? Just went in to pick up your dishes. The couch is dirty, vacuum the floor, blah, 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 blah. Because I was in mission mode, right? I'm in get things done mode. And I didn't stop to think and just be like, hey, buddy, how was your day? I mean, and I do 99% of the time. Right. But so I went down and he's like, it's okay. And I'm like, no, it's not okay. Son. I wouldn't want you to treat me that way. I'd call you out if you just walked in and started barking orders at me. And he's like, I would never do that. I'm like, I know. I know. It's why you're a good kid. But yeah, so with this, that is a great benefit of the work, though. I think that we do, Jen, is we can glean from our own lives to relate to clients, but also go, wow, that's something I do, or that's something someone I know or love does as well. And how can I work on myself?
100%. Absolutely. So looking back at when we started the podcast versus now, and I know you said there's been some evolution and we kind of talked about this, but I'm curious, is there anything you can pinpoint that has specifically helped you grow? And it might not even just be as a host, but even personally.
Within the podcast.
Within the time we've been doing the podcast. So over 18 months, we're coming on 2 years in a few months.
Well, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So I would say, this talking to you and meeting you, Jen, coincided pretty early on in me starting my own practice and branching out for the practice that I was in. So I would say that has been the greatest learning process. And honestly, I feel like you have been, just in our doing this, have been such a good support, even though we don't really sit down and talk about stuff, but I feel like we work it through during the podcasts. And of course, we chat before and after. But it's like, I think being able to do this for others, for in the service of other people, has really helped me for myself. So I would say, like, my big evolution in the last 18 or 24 months, I guess for me, it's October. When did we start? October last year.
October.
Okay. And that's when I started my practice in September. So it was very close to there. So I would say that's my big learning, evolution, juggling all the things. And
That's so awesome. We only have a couple more questions left. So I'm curious, what does embracing your value mean to you personally, not just professionally?
personally, I would say it means taking care of yourself, right? Knowing, first of all, we have to know our values to know our value. And then we have to use that as the framework in which to take care of ourselves so that we can care for other people. So when we know our value, we can take it, we can hold it, we can embrace it, we can love it. Then we can pour out to others.
For someone sitting on the fence about starting therapy, what would you want them to hear from you today?
So I would say that, first of all, I think I said this a little bit earlier, right? So the very first thing that you want to make sure is that you have a good alignment or rapport with a therapist. So I encourage people to look at bios online, try to get a consultation call if you can. And I would honestly, and I know this is expensive, but I would interview 3 therapists at least, especially if you've never been to therapy before. I would talk to 3 different therapists. I've had a couple people do this and they've told me they've done it. And I very much appreciate that because I'm like, look, if you don't call back, I might not, I don't have to worry about it. Right. So, I mean, I think that the thing to do is just talk to somebody, see if it's a good match. And if you feel like it's a person that you could take influence from or that you respect or admire, then that's probably a good place to start. Again, if you don't know if you need therapy, you probably need therapy.
So I have one last question, but before I ask it, is there anything that we didn't cover that you really want our listeners or future potential clients to know about you and your business?
No, I feel like we covered a lot.
We did. I love that. Okay. So the last question I have is, what do you hope our listeners take away from Embrace Your Value every time they tune in?
Well, I just want people to know that they matter and that every person has value, right? And there's just so many people out there that think that they have no value. And it can be the richest people in the world to people living on the streets. And I've literally talked to all of them at some point in my career. And I would say, when you know that you have value in life, then there's hope, right? We can use that. I can use that as a foothold. And so if I just would ask anybody to take anything away, it's that you have value and that you are meaningful.
And that's really why we named it this. That was kind of how we came up with it and why it was just close to both of our hearts. So Kristen, thank you for allowing me to interview you again, get this information back out there to all the people, because I love that. And for those of you listening, drop Kristen a line. Let her know what really resonated, what hit. Let her know where you're at. Just leave it in the show notes or send us an email. All of our contact information is in the show notes. So you could get in touch with Kristen herself. You can send it to the Embrace Your Value email address, whatever works for you. But let us know. Be sure you subscribe so that you always know when the next episode's coming out. And just thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
Yes. Thank you, Jen. I love this. It was so fun. Can't wait till it's your turn. Thank you for being here with us today.
If today's episode hit home, don't just keep it to yourself. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Because Everyone deserves to know their worth.
Next week, we're diving even deeper with more insights and tools to help you break free from limitations and live authentically.
Until then, keep raising your standards, owning your worth, and embracing your value.